Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Insight Podcast brought to you by Sentinel Technologies, the show where we explore the latest innovations and trends in the world of technology. I am your host, Daniel Altaher, the Advanced Digital Marketing Strategist here at Sentinel. And today we're diving deep into the world of artificial intelligence, more specifically, Microsoft's M365 Copilot, the latest addition to their ever-growing suite of AI-powered tools. Now, before we jump into the details of this exciting development, let's set the stage. Artificial intelligence has come a long way, and it's no longer just a buzzword. It's now integrated into our daily lives through various formats, from virtual assistants on our smartphones to recommendation algorithms on our streaming platforms. And the latest advancement from Microsoft, M365 Copilot, promises to be a game changer when it comes to productivity in the workplace. Now, Microsoft 365 Copilot seeks to provide a whole new way of working by combining the power of large language models that you may have experienced already with ChatGPT, along with M365 related information with chats in our calendars, emails, documents, and much more, providing a real-time AI assistant at your fingertips. Now, to talk a bit more about the launch of M365 Copilot, we're joined by two experts who are uniquely qualified to share their insights today. First up, we have Mr. Adam Bertram, the National Director of Enterprise Architecture and Innovation. Adam is a regular contributor here on the show. Welcome back, Adam.
Good to be here.
Now, for those of you who are new viewers, can you please give a bit about your background for us?
Sure. Been at Sentinel for about 15 years. Had a long background in collaboration, modern work, and whatnot. And recently, over the last several years, been focused in a bit more on the M365 portfolio, including Copilot that we'll talk about today, as well as public cloud infrastructure with Azure and AWS.
Awesome. Also joining us today, we have Mr. Vlad Ienceanu, Enterprise Architect in the Innovation Group. Please shed some light on your background for us, Vlad, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. My background stems around security and data. I joined Sentinel from Microsoft, where I was working with the Microsoft security lineup of products in the corporate space. And currently, my main focus is on helping our customers enable their Microsoft solutions and to get more value out of all of their products.
Fantastic. So let's dive right in here. Microsoft 365 Copilot's generating a lot of buzz in the tech community. So maybe one of you could give us just a brief overview of what this tool is all about.
Sure. So, it's probably worth talking about the Copilot branding out there because it's more than just M365 Copilot. There's several offerings from Microsoft that share that naming, and as in true Microsoft fashion, that's always changing. But we'll cover at a high level some of the offerings there. So first and foremost, probably one of the most recent announcements is Windows Copilot, which was recently announced and coming to the OS platform. So we'll see that built into Windows 11 primarily. We have GitHub Copilot, which has been out for a little while now. Many in the dev community use that as their kind of AI-assisted developer. Dynamics 365 Copilot and Sales Copilot, or Viva Sales rebranded under Sales Copilot. We also have Bing Enterprise. Those of you that are on the consumer side within the Edge browser are using Bing at the consumer level and the Copilot that was built into that. But with Enterprise Copilot, it's now basically enabling that in the enterprise and pulling in that information as well too. We have Copilot within the Power Platform. So those of you that work with Power Apps, Power BI, and so forth, Copilot's integrated into that experience as well. Security Copilot, which is a really exciting announcement from Microsoft. We're waiting to hear a little bit more about it, but that's going to be integrated into the suite of cloud security products within the Defender portfolio on into Microsoft Sentinel. And then lastly, today's topic, M365 Copilot. So this is Copilot within the Microsoft 365 app experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll dig in a little bit more on that now. So,
Sure.
When we're talking about,
No, sure, please continue.
Okay. Sure, okay. When we're talking about M360 Copilot today, in its simplest description, Copilot's an AI digital assistant, like you already mentioned, Daniel. But going a bit deeper, Microsoft has a term that they use for Copilot, and they call it the Copilot system. And it's basically a high-level description of how Copilot works. So first, it starts with the M365 app. So on the inside of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Teams, so forth. And then the next component is the Microsoft Graph.
Okay.
Those of you that aren't familiar with Graph, think of it as just that. It's a lattice work throughout the M365 portfolio that has access to your meetings, your files, chats, and other contextual information about you within the M365 tenant. And Microsoft uses a term in conjunction with Graph, which is called the semantic index, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means. And then lastly, you already touched on it, the large language model, or an LLM. Yep. This is responsible for interpreting those responses, providing a human-readable response, similar to the experience, as you mentioned, with ChatGPT. It's very similar in the way that large language model is structured with M365 Copilot. Now, without getting too into the weeds, how does that work, and how does that, as far as, in action? So first and foremost, user starts out and prompts Copilot. So you're going to ask it about something or to do something for you, right? And I'm doing that inline in the application. So maybe I'm in Word and I'm asking it, I need you to summarize this information from a presentation that was given a week ago and give me a table of the data inside of my Word doc, something like that.
And these are all embedded right in these Microsoft applications, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you're going to have a Copilot.
Right
yeah,
there.
You're going to have a Copilot button that's built into these applications, and that so you're not having to leave and go into something else to perform this. And then from there, that prompt is basically handed over to Copilot. It's pre-processed using a grounding process, which is basically machine learning speak for improving the quality and the accuracy of the prompt using that Microsoft Graph and that semantic index that's being built around all of your contextual information that I talked about earlier, right? The meetings,
right.
chats, files, calendars, and whatnot. And then the modified prompt is sent over to that large language model for post-processing, which typically adds additional grounding calls back to that semantic index. And the reason it does that is by default, that large language model may be providing information that is sensitive in nature. We need to apply security to that, compliance, privacy, and ultimately responsible AI, which is kind of a joint effort as we explore AI and use these large language models that a lot of the big organizations, including Microsoft, are agreeing to as far as terms and standards that an AI system are going to adhere to, right? So that prompt is then sent back to the user inline in the application for use in that application or further prompts to improve upon it or refine it. So at a high level, that's the workflow of how Copilot works in action.
Well, the potential applications for M365 Copilot they sound incredible. So now let's apply it. So maybe both of you could share some real world scenarios where this tool might shine.
With Copilot and Outlook, this one is intriguing to me, and its potential use cases such as email thread summarization and abilities to derive the action items, formulate replies, and follow-up tasks are amazing. The other things that I really love about Copilot and Outlook is you're able to schedule everybody into a meeting seamlessly. There's no more looking through 5 different calendars in order to find the best time, and the integration with the full Microsoft suite with Viva Insights allows you to book everything in a way that you can manage all of the workload.
That would make life easier.
Copilot in Word as well will allow you to document summarization or recap and rewrite edits, and this includes things like tables, bulleted lists, and much, much more. For documents that you might need some additional visual content, Microsoft Designer can be used to pull in these AI-directed imagery, including some pretty cool AI editing capabilities like photo manipulation, and you can even do the generation from that Bing Enterprise that Adam was previously talking about.
Yeah, one thing I thought was kind of neat with Copilot and Outlook was, all of us have meetings where we're double booked, triple booked, can't attend a meeting. So what Copilot's going to add into Outlook specifically is the ability to follow a meeting. And what that's going to do is I don't have to attend that meeting, but then it's going to send a notification to that meeting host to record that meeting because I'm following it or others are following it, and then provide me a notification when that recording is available, and use Copilot to provide an intelligent meeting recap, similar to the experience in Teams Premium for those that are using Teams Premium today.
Very cool. So are there any more advanced use cases for M365 Copilot, aside from just the day-to-day kind of things within email and Word documents?
Sure. So, there's two main ways to extend the capability within Copilot. You've got Copilot plugins and then Copilot connectors. Copilot plugins, the easiest way to think of this is I'm going to be able to have plugins that I'm either creating myself via using an API framework to talk to an application, or more likely what we'll see and already see is third-party providers having plugins that they build into their applications. There's dozens in that ecosystem already, and what that's going to allow you to do basically is interact with that application within those prompts that we talked about earlier. So a quick example would be maybe I'm talking to M365 Copilot and I need to produce an itinerary for a trip based on an upcoming event in my calendar. I'll be able to ask Copilot to provide flight information, hotel, car information, and book those live in that experience because I may be using a plugin from a third-party travel provider. So that's where you're going to see extensibility into those third-party applications. Similarly, you've got Copilot connectors, which are basically graph connectors, that Microsoft Graph that we talked about earlier. Those are graph connectors under the hood. And what that's going to allow you to do is basically have that additional repository or that connector leverage information that can then be indexed into that semantic index. So now I've got even additional contextual information that I can provide in my prompts. Good example of that I've seen come up recently has been legacy file shares.
Yeah.
We have file shares at Sentinel that we use that have probably 20 years worth of information on there. Not that we want to index 20 years worth of information, but being able to extend into those file shares and grab that contextual information, ingest documents that are supported, and have that fed into the semantic index along with any metadata for files that I can't read, that's going to be incredibly valuable to us as we transition into Copilot, being able to reach back into that legacy archive that's been built over years, because it still may have relevant information to custom things that Sentinel does that are only unique to us.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like this tool has plenty of potential to help many of us be more productive in our daily lives. But now let's go a little bit on devil's advocate, play realistic side. What do you believe are some limitations or challenges that M365 Copilot might face?
Well, M365 Copilot is impressive in what it is able to do by providing the ChatGPT-like natural language interactions, and how it combines those specific contextual responses from my personal data.
Okay.
With that, though, the organizations that aren't utilizing M365 and the Office apps to the fullest extent and in a significant way may not get the most value out of their Copilot. The semantic index we spoke about earlier relies on the information within a tenant. If there's limited information and usage, it's going to struggle quite a bit to produce powerful results. So think about your Outlook sales Copilot trying to write an email, but it's not connected to your CRM, it's not connected to your email, things like that. It's going to have a very general response.
Okay.
It's also worth noting that it will be important for organizations to have a good handle on their information landscape within their tenants, and more specifically what users have access to, how relevant the information is it stale, outdated, duplicate, and what information should be protected using the native M365 information protection policies, such as labeling and the data loss prevention tools.
Understood. All right, so it may be a little overwhelming as things are about to kick off and launch. So that's where Sentinel Technologies steps in. So if one of our viewers comes to us and say, hey, how does Sentinel Technologies help me traverse this landscape as M365 Copilot launches? What can we do for them?
Yeah, so about a month ago or so, we launched our M365 Copilot Readiness Workshop, which is specifically designed for what you just described, customers that are exploring Copilot, want to see maybe what the use cases might be, but are unsure on where to start and what they need to be prepared for, both from a technical perspective, but then also from a information perspective, governance, use cases, and overall adoption. A lot of those similarities are shared with just general M365 usage. So we put together a workshop that steps through that, explains in more detail how Copilot works, has a questionnaire that's built in that we take customers through that generates a readiness score, and then ultimately can our lineup of different services where customers may need assistance building out those use cases, or as Vlad spoke to, the information protection side of things within M365. So lots of things we can provide there, but ultimately we're just trying to provide customers with awareness and education around what it's going to take to adopt Copilot.
And we're ready to get them on their way. So to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Insight Podcast brought to you by Sentinel Technologies. We hope you found this discussion on Microsoft's M365 Copilot informative and inspiring. There's a lot to look forward to with M365 Copilot set to launch on November 1st and Sentinel continuing to be your always leading premier business IT solution partner. You know what? We're ready to guide you towards what's next. So as technology continues to evolve, as it always does, we'll be right here bringing you the latest insights and discussions on the ever-changing landscape of technology. Until next time, we invite you to stay curious and we invite you to stay innovative. Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Adam, for your time today, sharing plenty of insightful information around the M365 Copilot and what is expected as it is set to launch early next month. This is Altaher signing off. Until next time.